The United States, as the world knows, will never start a war. We do not want a war. We do not now expect a war. This generation of Americans has already had enough, more than enough, of war and hate and oppression.
The choice is his. And if he does not disarm, the United States of America will lead a coalition and disarm him in the name of peace.
The United States wants to return Iraq to its earlier status as a virtual colony in order to secure its control over the Gulf region's oil, which is 2/3 of the world's petroleum reserves.
Our involvement in the Gulf is not transitory. It predated Saddam Hussein's aggression and will survive it. Long after all our troops come home, there will be a lasting role for the United States in assisting the nations of the Persian Gulf.
There are those that would like to lift the sanctions. I am not among them.
We destroyed every silo for grain or anything else storing food in the whole country. We destroyed all the storage and processing of food plants throughout the country. Deliberately destroyed. We didn't want them to be able to feed themselves for a long, long time.
And we would take this to a war front to protect Saudi Arabia's making more money?
No, you are sharing that money. Everybody knows that.
Before the sanctions, Iraq used its $20 billion in annual oil exports to import 70% of the country's food and medicine. The cutting off of Iraq's oil by the Security Council has caused widespread hunger.
Starvation of civilians as a method of warfare is prohibited by international law. The sanctions are a violation of the Geneva Convention, the United Nations Charter, the Constitution of the World Health Organization, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Charter of Economic Rights and Duties of the States.
Baghdad tonight, under heavy bombardment on the day the war started. The Americans warn it is just a taste of things to come.
Their mission? To remove Saddam Hussein from power and disarm Iraq of its weapons of mass destruction.
And we gave him a chance to allow the inspectors in, and he wouldn't let them in.
I use the word lie. The report does not use the word lie. Are there lies?
There certainly are, and this is a big report, but what it says is statements by the president were not substantiated by intelligence, and then it says statements by the president were contradicted by available intelligence. In other words, they made things up.
If war takes place, if war happens, it's not because Iraq has not done all it could regarding disarmament.
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And, you know, is the price worth it?
I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it.
Worth it because she believes the sanctions are working.
The aggressors were tantalized by the unbounded expanses of our country. Their eyes had long been fixed on our land, our oil, our coal, our natural wealth. In the early hours of June the 22nd, 1941, without declaring war and without any excuse for war, the Nazis fell upon our country. Belarusian cottages went up in flames. Bombs rained down on Ukrainian towns. They thought they were taking an easy and pleasant promenade through Russia, but Russia, like Holland, would drop on her knees.
It appears that there were not weapons of mass destruction there.
You said you knew where they were.
I did not. I said...
You said you knew where they were, near Tikrit, near Baghdad, and north, east, south, and west of there. Those are your words.
My words were that...
We know where they are. They're in the area around Tikrit and Baghdad and east, west, south, and north.
There are terrorists holed up in those mountains who murdered 3,000 Americans. They are plotting to strike again. If we have actionable intelligence about high-value terrorist targets and President Musharraf will not act, we will. If we don't win over the hearts and minds of 1.3 billion Muslims in this world, it is going to be very difficult for us to win the long war against extremism.
Bomb Iran, you know, bomb. Anyway.
When veterans are together, veterans joke. And I was with veterans and we were joking. And if somebody can't understand that, my answer is please get a life.
When I search John McCain on YouTube, the biggest thing that comes up is you singing Bomb, 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 Bomb Iran. 744,000 hits, in case you haven't checked it recently. Are you proud or embarrassed of that?
I'm proud. Look. I'm proud. Look. I'm proud. Look. When I'm in the company of veterans, which I was, and one of them says to me, when are you going to send a message to Iran? And we're joking around. I'm going to joke around. And if someone doesn't like it, my advice to them is to lighten up. I've articulated my position on Iran many times and what needs to be done. But if someone, like when I had to tell a high school student the other day that he was a little jerk, if that offends them and they don't like it, look, that's too bad. My response is lighten up. You can know my position on Iran, which is very, very in depth as to what we need to do.
There is this inextricable tie between culture, religion, ethnicity that most people don't fully understand. That is unique and, how can I say it, so strong with Jews worldwide. There is a, I mean, you know, I used to say early on when I was a kid, I'd say, when I was a young senator, I'd say, if I were a Jew, I'd be a Zionist. I am a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist. How many battleships would there be? How many troops would be stationed? Israel is the single greatest strength America has in the Middle East.
Credible proof is piled up against these men. Millions of words of evidence have been heard by the judges. Keitel and Kaltenbrunner brand, for the Goering and Hess fanatical cruelties, for the whole program of pillage and murder. Now it is civilization's turn to read their monstrous crimes into the record.
Murder or ill treatment of prisoners of war or persons on the seas. Killing of hostages. Plunder of public or private property, wanton destruction of cities, towns or villages, or devastation not justified by military necessity. C. Crimes against humanity, namely murder, extermination, enslavement, deportation, and other inhumane acts committed against any civilian population before or during the war.
For many weary months, a mountain of incredible proof is piled up against these men. Millions of words of evidence have been heard by the judges. Thousands upon thousands of documents have been examined by the finest legal minds of the four nations.
I just don't think we can let these people back into polite society and just pretend that nothing ever happened. Someone should have to pay in some way for the decisions that they made to mislead the American people.